Hey, everybody, welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode 256, the Linux podcast, all about trying to drive all these high tech, hardcore Linux topics and bring them down to an end user level that everyone can enjoy, whether you're the expert or the noob. Joining me once again is the always honorable and talented Mr. Nadu. How's everything going, sir?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Thanks for having me on again, Dor. Everything's going good over here.
No problem, no problem. Greetings and salutations. I did miss Chad's like 12:30 at Saturday night ping of "Hey, what's up?"
Sounds about right.
And I was really upset at myself, but he pinged me back Sunday morning. No worries, I'll catch you next week.
Ah, bummer, dude. He was sad you left him hanging.
Yeah, but let's just say I've done that more than a couple of times in the last year. But he's always cool when we can hang out.
Yeah. No, he's good like that.
And I would encourage any old, in air quote, Linux podcaster who wants to just catch up. Don't hesitate. Ping me on any platform you want. Depending on the platform, will directly make my respond time, longer or shorter. So, like the
Exactly.
old guy said in Indiana Jones, and number three, choose wisely.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Remember how they used that with the Pepsi commercial, or was
Yeah.
it Coke or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing I just wanted to just throw out there, Jonathan, and I don't know why everybody will not stop talking about it, but I guess I'm going to be one of those guys for at least a couple seconds. And that is Elon Musk buying Twitter. Number one, don't care. Number two, the problem with Twitter isn't the ownership. Number three, I really don't care about Twitter in general. I don't think it's a lifeblood. I think if it goes away tomorrow, we as a independent society lose nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously.
and yet everyone keeps acting like this is like the end of the world coming, and because one person is controlling anything, all hell is going to break loose, and democracy, as we know, is going to go away.
My thing about this Dor, is as technology people, like we're not the smartest guys in the world. We understand some of this stuff. Like my problem with this whole thing is like, hey people, Twitter isn't the internet. Like, let them do whatever I don't care. Don't use Twitter. Like Twitter's not the internet, people. Like let him do whatever he wants. Like let him drive the thing into the ground. I don't know. Like I don't like just people freaking out about this whole thing and him owning it. I mean, yeah, it's scary. One individual now owns all this freaking data. Like that's the scariest part of it all. But you're right, Dor. Like as a service or whatever, like my life wouldn't change at all if it Twitter goes down tomorrow.
Yeah, and like the analogy I'm going to use is from the podcast called Built for Tomorrow. When bicycles were new, in air quotes, literally, when bicycles were new, mass media in America said you cannot let your woman have a pedal bicycle or else she will never get off of it because of the vibrations will cause
Yep, yeah,
endless
yeah. I remember
enjoyment
you telling me about that.
and people will die. Let's just, you know, be like Roy Rogers and slow down once in a while. This is no different than Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post. This is no different than the people before him buying television stations when they got rich. This
Right.
is no different than the people before them buying radio stations when they became rich. This is no different than people before them buying local newspapers, because once you become rich, your number one first goal is to control the narrative.
Right.
That's nothing's changed. This is literally like people fear mongering over margarine all again.
Yeah, exactly.
If he poisons the well, and this is a true historical thing, I'll say there. If he tries to poison the well and blame the Jews, we'll just go someplace else,
Exactly.
and that's bottom line. There is
Yeah.
no secret sauce with Twitter. There's no special software with Twitter, and now what I'll say in reality, the problem with Twitter again isn't the ownership, isn't the software, isn't the servers, isn't the connectivity, isn't the ads, isn't the interface, isn't the interactions. I think the problem with Twitter is the people who are on it, just like Facebook.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? Like, every social media site does have like a kind of person, right? Like there are definitely like people that, they probably have all four social media, whatever, like Snapchat, Facebook, they have all that, but everyone always has one they lean more towards or whatever they use more heavily than the others, and it's just interesting. You can usually tell like, oh yeah, that person probably used Instagram way more than anything else or whatever. Like I don't know, it's interesting to see how different people flock to different social media sites for obvious reasons. Like obviously Instagram's more focused on images and all that stuff, and Twitter, I honestly don't know what Twitter's even like, where they even fit into all this, because it's like Instagram, I get it's like all pictures, stuff like that. TikTok, I get it, quick videos, sure. Facebook, get that too, connected with family, blah blah blah. But Twitter, like me as a blind person, if I look at tweets, there's such a mess. Like, yeah, it's all like Twitter speak and Twitter code, because you have to like, yeah, you can only use so many characters or whatever. I don't know. It looks like a complete mess as a blind person when I look at it, like the stream of tweets.
Yeah, out there, you're absolutely right. The part of the problem is the girth behind it, and because of how many people that are on it, there's all these different silos where there's young Twitter, old Twitter, black Twitter. I mean, there's all
Oh,
these
right,
different, like,
right.
in air quote, Twitter verses, which to me just once again puts a little like concrete stone in the ground why I think WT.social is such a smarter atmosphere for text driven and picture driven social interfaces, because the first thing you do on WT.social, which is a Wikimedia owned guy, oh man, I can't remember his name now, but he owns that one too. Um,
Oh,
where
okay, okay.
where the first thing you do when you join WT Social is you pick what interests you have, not
Oh, that's cool.
what kind of celebrity mental invalid you would like to follow. Um, so, like, the logic is if I join the Flat Earther Society in WT Social, what's the chance I'm going to be flame baiting them?
Right,
You know,
right,
so
right.
more than likely, at least with that social type text driven Twitter scrolling like interface, you're at least going to be interfacing with people you initially agree with.
I think, don't hold me to this, but I think WT Social is GNU Social.
Oh, it
I
absolutely
think.
is. There's no doubt. When I
Okay.
log into it, I see a 4-year-old GNU social interface. And it's Jimmy Wales. He's the guy that owns WT
Oh,
Social.
okay. 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 Yeah, because GNU Social used to be.
So
Ah, man, I can't.
it went through like 4 iterations, and none of them
Yeah,
were
I can't.
successful.
I can't remember what it originally. Identica.
Yeah, thank you. That was
That
one of
that's
them.
what it
Yeah,
was. That's what it was. It originally was Identica, and
yeah,
so
and none of them have been successful at all. And now that exact same code base is Mastodon. Okay. Um,
right, right.
and here's a perfect example of why Mastodon has zero chance of being successful whatsoever. Good friend of the show, Jeff Owens, longtime friend of the show, Jeff
Oh
Owens.
yeah, oh yeah.
Super nice guy, super smart guy, super guy who just wants to help other people. He spent 3 hours today trying to join Mastodon servers. He kept
Oh,
getting
dude,
messages
dude,
saying
don't
like,
even get me, don't even get me started. I've tried joining them. It's like pulling teeth.
it is. And then when he got, well, it kept saying like limit full, everything full, blah, blah, blah. Then he found one where there was actually openings. And when he went to join, they said that his handle was banned because it was racist. His
Wow.
handle everywhere he goes is Black Hammer. And Black Hammer, I believe, is a Marvel comic reference.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was like livid, like top blown kind of thing. I said, well, the only see here's why Mastodon can't succeed. Mastodon isn't Mastodon. Mastodon is a collection of mental invalids who are on BBS type atmospheric systems. Where in
Right.
reality, you have to own your own Mastodon instance. Then once you can, basically you're spending your day banning people and banning groups and banning this and banning that, because all these people keep trying to say things that you don't agree with and you think that are wrong and you think that are stupid. To quote the lady in the Chicago apartment complex, I ain't got time for that.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Mastodon will come crashing down in a devastating, like ballistically, horrifyingly burial fire that can only be equated to like literally a star dying.
Man, well, that's what next. So Nextcloud is coming in and implementing. Are they implementing GNU Social into
Well,
Nextcloud? Is that what they're doing?
the impression I get, they're literally calling it like NC Social, and it's going to be a type of GNU Social Mastodon type instance, but there's going to be some sort of curation at the core to where they're going to rate servers. I don't know.
Okay.
Dare
Okay.
I say, like the China government, they're going to rate their social score on what's good and what's decent, when what's bad and what's good. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I'd much rather have more faith if they launched Google Plus again, but you know.
Well, I mean, the Nextcloud thing could be interesting if they put it into their core system and all that, because they already have that article I was reading. I think it said like 400 servers or something like that. Like, and like they could have access to like tens of millions of users right away. So I was like, well, I mean, that's interesting.
Well, and I will say, yeah, it's Nextcloud 3 Hub, which is the next major version release. It's going to be part of that. And here's how it really could work. Kind of like how Slack. The reason why Slack is successful has nothing to do with the software, the interface. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with who early adopted it. It was major companies. Um,
Mm,
so if the major companies that already are utilizing Nextcloud as infrastructure, which to be honest, there's a lot of them doing it, it would simply be a question of just ticking that box to where now company A has a Twitter like platform to communicate with company B.
yeah, yeah.
So it could have its own little niche of successfulness. I will say I love the fact that nextcloudpi.com is the new website. It used to be Own Your Bitch. You can go to nextcloudpi.com. You can download multiple different types of in architecture Nextcloud stuff. So it's Rock Pi, Raspberry Pi,
Oh, that's cool.
Odroid XU4 kind of thing, and just load it on there, and just one click, you're up and running, and it works. So far, good. I'm not going to say fantastic or great, but it definitely gets you up into the ecosystem.
That's cool. So is it easier to set up like your own domain or whatever, like to your Nextcloud instance and stuff like that?
Well, your own domain is going to be how difficult it is for your own domain. The actual local installation is a web-driven wizard with like two
Oh,
questions
okay.
only. Like, do you want to use external storage for your media, and do you want to set up port forwarding? After that,
Okay.
when you load it up in the administrator interface, you can enter what is acceptable domains.
Oh, that's
Hypothetically,
cool.
you go to nc.potnuts.com. It redirects you to my Nextcloud domain, which I had to go into my um, config panel and say whitelist this domain, or else when you try to access it, you're trying to access this domain outside of the network kind of
Oh,
message.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was not difficult at all, but it does require at least maybe not a Geordie LaForge level or a Scotty level of engineering in the Star Trek verse, but at least somebody like above an ensign level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens, you know.
Well, here's the whole thing. Me as a nerd, as what I like to think of as a intellectual entrepreneur, my
There you
business
go.
is information. You know what I mean? I love
Yeah.
competition, and I love people wanting to say, I'm now going to put my stake in the ground and own this ecosystem. Come at me. Because then I love to see what kind of things like perk up from nowhere and just all of a sudden become incredibly competitive. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see in like a year and a half, what is popular, what is less popular. But if any platform has Ashton Kushner on it, I'm not going to be on it.
So if you see an A plus K profile come up on the Nextcloud social, so you're gonna delete yours.
Yeah. Well, I joined WT Social and I loved the onboarding process. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was great. And after using it for like 3 minutes, I said, "This is far too many words. I can't read this many words. Okay, I'm done."
Oh, like once you got set up and you're like looking through your stream or whatever of like the, I guess you not you call them tweets or whatever, but whatever the messages are, you're saying.
Yeah, it's just all text driven, and
Yeah, yeah.
too much text just literally puts me to sleep.
It'd be interesting, like if next since Nextcloud is implementing the social media stuff into their software. It'd be cool if they use like the storage for like image sharing and stuff like that. It's interesting that they tie it into their whole system.
Yeah, I will say they already have really baked into the core address book users kind of thing,
That's cool.
calendaring,
Huh.
emails, inner messaging when you're on the same server, and then using
Yeah.
Federation, you can then extend them out easily to those other networks. So this is literally going to be um, almost like what Nextcloud Talks chat feature is, but only chat and chat history. Because Nextcloud Talk is like their implementation of Teams and Teams chat, or Google Meet and Google Meets like video chat.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
and if you don't run it on a Raspberry Pi 4 and you run it on actual x86 hardware, it runs miraculously good, like crisp
Oh, yeah,
images
I believe it.
and
I
really
believe
like,
it.
yeah, because and I know the back end technology is simply RTC and the Opus codec, aka technology from 2012.
Right.
Right. So you pinged me about having a new experience you wanted to go over.
Oh yeah, well I didn't experience this, but I saw this as I was doing some homework on another project, and I was like, oh, that's good news to see. So Arch Linux actually, I don't know when they made this change officially, but with their official ISO now, they make a screen reader supported installation process in the bootloader now. So I was like, that's awesome, because before I had a friend that actually oversaw or managed like there was a distro he made called Talking Arch ISO, and basically all he did was took the regular Arch ISO and just literally had he basically did what Arch did with their ISO now. He just would make the speak up start talking right away when the ISO came up, and so he stopped making that ISO a while ago. And I wonder if I don't know, someone must have put a bug in Arch Linux ear or something and said, "Hey, just put this extra like screen reader supported installation thing entering the bootloader." And so that's what they did. And so one thing it'd be cool. Like I might like actually reach out to them, because one thing that I saw is they put a 15-second like timer on on like the installation process. So when it got to like the bootloader section, after 15 seconds it would time out and it would automatically choose like whatever the first selection is on the bootloader. But it would be cool if they took that same sequence, and instead of making it choose the bootloader, it would make more sense for the screen reader installation thing to start talking right away, because a blind person would just sit at a bootloader and not know what to do. So it would make more sense, because that's what Triskel did when I worked with them at the FSF. They had the live session come up on Triskel, and you waited 10 or 15 seconds, and after you waited, literally Orca would just start talking. Orca would turn on itself and start talking. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
could do the installation.
yeah. It was Triskel was the distro I could not remember to save my life. I remember when I met that guy, I thought to myself, "Holy crap, this guy could stop what he's doing today and like in like 3 weeks from now be a millionaire."
Probably. He
Such a
was like
smart kid.
insanely smart. Yeah. Just like wicked smart dude. Insanely young too. I mean, he was way younger than I thought he was. He was like in his early 20s or something like
Yeah.
that.
He was like 23, 24, and he outdrank nearly everybody at that conference.
Oh yeah, I think he was from Spain. So
Yeah.
Ruben Rodriguez.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
but yeah, I thought that was cool to see. Like, hey, there's still some accessibility stuff kind of moving forward in the Linux world. So that was cool to see.
Well, and I will say, you know, I can pretend like I need an accessibility. I can pretend like I need something, but to actually need it, I cannot emulate. And what you said is the kind of thing that only you, or a person like you in your shoes, can actually truly understand. Look, people, if you boot up and you don't touch anything, you shouldn't just drop into you should automatically launch the Orca screen reader first, because
Right.
because me as a sighty, if I
exactly.
if I boot and I get that, all I'm going to do is just reboot again,
Right.
and then I'll hit buttons quicker, kind of thing. But for people who need that accessibility, that is the absolute, in my opinion, apropos way to introduce you to having that feature.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I said, when I saw Ruben do that, and he made the ISO, he sent me a link. He's like, download it, try it out. It's like boot into live session. It should start. And when I did, I was like, this is amazing. Like literally, that it was. I mean, I don't want to say life changing or whatever, but look, if you're a totally blind person, you got no sighted people around to help you or whatever. It's kind of life changing to have an operating system you can install and run with no help.
Well,
You know?
well, and to me, it does both at the same time. It appears to the sighties that it's just a normal Linux distro, and
Exactly.
to the non sighties, it appears like, well, hell, this distro was made for me.
Exactly. Exactly, dude. Like, and it's literally a few lines of code he did it in.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, that's the whole thing. The most advanced is in technology actually require the fewest amounts of bits and bytes. It's just where you put them and how you put them.
Exactly. For real. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, like I said, it's good. It's good to see stuff is moving forward still. I would say, sadly, the state of accessibility in Linux is kind of looks like the way I left it when I kind of got out of the community for a little while, and coming back into it, I'm just kind of like, ooh, we haven't made too many steps forward. So
Yeah.
that's a little disconcerting, but
Yeah. I'll say, and to me, the other, and this is one of those things, Jonathan, I between you and me, I have extremely vexed opinions on. Everybody in technology, not using technology, but everybody in the technology sphere understands why accessibility is needed. It isn't needed for convenience sake. It's needed because there's percentages of people out there who otherwise can't use it. Period.
mm,
Okay. There's lots of money on the floor. There's lots of eyeballs or
yeah, yeah,
earballs on the floor, kind of thing.
exactly.
That they're like, just leave them on the floor, and to leave them on the floor is incompetence. Number one. So with that stated, I want everything out there to be pushing people to be more accessible. And then I'm listening to an Uncle Leo podcast
Oh, yeah.
because I'm deranged and I want to just be inundated with ads. And then one of his ads is literally for a company that's saying that they can integrate into your software development stack to make your software more accessible.
Yeah.
And I
That
have
makes
such
me
mixed
cringe.
I have such mixed feelings about it, because at least now people are talking about it.
Yeah.
At least now certain customers are aware that such a thing is out there. But I don't like the idea of a company, because literally you and me know all they're doing is literally scanning code and looking for alt text and then prompting you
Right.
to insert alt text. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
For them to make enough money off that they can afford an Uncle Leo advertisement, makes me throw up in my mouth.
Oh, exactly, man. Like, I saw an ad on Facebook talking about. It was more talking about like web accessibility, and on this ad, literally, this was one of the lines, and I commented on the ad. It was like, "Don't worry. Are you worried about like web accessibility for your website? We got you covered. Just install our JavaScript on your website." And this was literally the line, and we'll take away all those pesky lawsuits. That was
Wow.
literally a line in the ad.
Wow.
So I commented on the line on the ad, and I was like, "Hey, I forgot." I was like, "Oh, great ad" or whatever, and I was like, as a blind person, my favorite line was this one, and I copied and pasted the "take away those pesky." I was like, good to see where your aim is here with for accessibility. I was just like because you don't want us pesky people bothering you, to like make your website accessible. I was
Yeah,
like,
and
jeez,
what they don't get is it's exactly like a hospital being sued because there's a fat curb that people in wheelchairs can't get in their hospital.
right,
It is literally
right,
the exact same kind of thing, and nobody, I have to hope, wish, and pray, nobody would walk up to that hospital and say you shouldn't fix this curb.
right. You know, so it's we live in I don't know interesting times. People, it seems like people are starting to care, but like uh, to a weird extent. Like I said, that I guess we're really quickly. I'll say one thing. We were talking about this earlier. Like I started working for IEEE, and one thing that we're going to be working on with the team that I'm on is sort of this thing where it's like we're going to be talking about accessibility, but it should be part of the design process. It should be part of the programming process. Like accessibility doesn't should never be bolted on afterwards. Accessibility should never be like, oh, let's make this separate app to make things easier. No, accessibility should be taught at the programming level where, what, part of your process of putting together an app, making sure it's accessible is one of the check boxes you need to have checked. So if we get people developing from the word go with accessibility in mind, that's going to make everything way better.
Yeah, the way I'll put it is, it shouldn't even be called accessibility.
Right,
It and like in HTML terms, it shouldn't be called alt text. It should be called
right.
this. It should just be called description,
Mm,
or
mm,
like something basic where it doesn't translate to something that's not used by everybody, because technically it can be used by everybody. And here's the other analogy I'm gonna throw out there. Um, Here's how it's different. I can't explain to you actually how it's different, but here's an analogy how it's different. We're walking down the street. If I walk up to you and just ask you what your email and password is, you're gonna look at me like I'm an idiot.
mm.
If I walk up to you and say, "Hey, what's your phone number? I gotta send you something." You're not gonna give that phone number. If someone knocks at your door and says, "Hello, from the local tax commission, I was told I need to figure out just how much taxes you owe. What's your social security number again?"
Right.
Nobody would give them the information. But for some reason, if someone texts you, "Hey, Jack," and then you respond, "Hey, my name's not Jack. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a wrong number. What's your name?" And then they start to initiate a 2 month conversation where they eventually say, "Hey, have you invested in cryptocurrencies? Because I know a great way to do it." And then it turns out you invest $400,000 of your money into it. Why can't people understand in the digital world these simple and, in as far as I'm concerned, instinctive nuances on how communications happen? Um,
Mm.
because scams happen online that never would happen in reality. Never
Right.
happen. Right. So why is it that I'm okay with making sure, like in the state of Florida, accessibility says every single exterior door has to open outward, and the
Huh.
door has to have enough clearance to where it cannot like fill up the curb, like all the way to the curb kind of
Okay.
thing. Um,
Okay.
why is it okay for people to agree with that kind of simple level of accessibility in the physical world and understand
Right.
your door needs a ramp onto it? You need to have at these intersections these bumps on the ground so
Yep.
people who are
Yep.
blind can feel them and know what they're doing. Why is it so easy for people to understand that it's needed in the physical world, but with the online world, they might as well be listening to a flat earther talking about how, you know, we're all actually living in a simulation and just be okay with it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I hear you. If people, I've told people this a few times. Like, if I would ever like kind of screen capture me working for the day, it's ridiculous how many times throughout the day I'm doing something. I need, maybe I'm filling out a form, maybe I'm doing whatever, but I got to click on buttons and crap on these websites. So many times I'm in a process, halfway through a process of trying to submit whatever. Oh, this button's not clickable. Oh, no, I can't see any button to move forward. Oh, like just stupid little stuff like that just brings my day to a halt, you know. But like anyone else I could see, their working day would go on just normal, you know. It's wicked frustrating.
Yeah, the amount of hoops you have to jump through, if any normal person was aware of them, would literally like storm their governor's office and be like,
It probably seriously,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
stuff has to change. And this is like and here's like one of my daydream things I was like hopeful for was just self-driving automobiles, just to enable anybody with any disability at any time to be able to have the same traversal functionality that I have available to them. And that still hasn't happened. And I got bad news. I got bad news last week. George George Hotz.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the original guy that hacked the PS.
Oh, the Bluetooth thing for
2 or 3?
air.
Can't remember. But he started his own technology company called Comma AI, and Comma AI's goal was to sell you basically a modified Android phone for less than $1,000 and have a simple service that you subscribe to, pennies a dollar kind of thing, which would then connect into a modern car and control your braking, your steering, your turn signal, everything.
Dude.
And make self-driving thing a reality. He's been at it for a couple of years, and last month he said he was stepping down.
Man.
Which makes me think, that last 10% is harder than even he thought.
Or he got a visit from somebody.
Oh, I guarantee you. Me and Jonathan have been through this more times. Listen, I guarantee you he had death threats like 2 years ago. Just like I told you, if you try to make things too accessible, you're going to start getting death threats.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, here's the thing. I'm gonna very lightly traverse on a term called a digital freedom fighter, which means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and I'm sure 90% of people out there never thought of that term. One of the first digital, in air quote, freedom fighters I can tell you about is Moxie Marlinspike, who is the creator and author behind Red Phone and Signal text messaging app, to where he basically mastered encrypted communications back and forth. So much that a lot of governments, let's just say, don't like him very much.
Right.
To where this guy also, George Holtz, was really teetering on that precipice to being on government list because of the stuff he was doing was not acceptable. He jailbroke. He was the guy who first jailbroke the iPhone. He was the guy that first cracked Sony DRM protection on PS3s, I think it was. And he did like 2 or 3 other things to such a degree that entrepreneurs and business people knew this guy's so smart. Let me throw money at him. What do you want to go after, George? Here's some money. Do you want to go after something else? Here's some more money. So his latest thing was this Comma AI self-driving thing, which literally, right, I would say in 2022 would have worked on 20% of the automobiles with no extra hardware, just out of the box. Bam.
Really?
Yeah. You plug it up, its camera would have looked forward, it would have did lane changing, assistive braking, all that.
Wow.
Yeah. Man. So the idea of self-driving car now is at least being slowed down, no pun intended. But I will say there's 5 different levels of automation when it comes to driving. We're clearly at level 2 already. We've like easily comforted into level 2. Even Cadillacs and BMWs have level 2. Level 3 is what like Teslas believe they can get to, which is basically full highway driving. And like my kid's 17 years old, just getting his driver's license, just getting his car, and explaining to him, you're on the highway. this is actually the safest road you could be on. And he just couldn't believe me.
Right.
No. The most dangerous road is within like 2 miles of our house. That's the most dangerous road. And he just couldn't believe it. So I had to explain to him, look, you're on a highway. Yes, everyone's going 50 to 80 miles an hour, but everyone's going straight. No one's cutting across from you with a 90-degree angle. No one's coming towards you at a 180-degree angle.
Or at least you hope not.
Well, they shouldn't be, unless they're in planes, trains, and automobiles, but I digress. There is no traffic lights. There is no stop signs. There is no flashing lights. There's just going straight. It's the safest thing you could possibly do. Go onto back roads, side roads with cars parked on the side and possibility of kids or animals or whatever coming out in the road. That's the most dangerous road.
Yeah.
And with level 3 driving, it's complete highway autonomous driving, which is where they believe it's going to have the most impact on trucker driving. Now, the reason being is in maybe Germany, there was a country where you could have a maximum of a tractor trailer with 5 trailers behind you. So what they were doing in that country was literally having the first truck driven, the rest of the trucks self-driven until you get to your end point. Then 5 people would run out and get in the cabs to do the final parking.
Okay. That's interesting, but you're still not getting rid of the drivers.
And yeah, that's the whole thing. You're just making them more specialized, if you will. Kind of like the people who get hired to just run onto a boat and drive 1,000 vehicles off the boat into parking lots.
Yeah. That was I tried to thought it was shoot, I lost it. Oh well, couldn't have been that good.
Well,
I don't know what it was.
Tracy Holtz hears this, I'm sure he'll have a comment. Random tangent. The Steam Deck. Listen, I'm not going to say I came off my high horse about Steam Deck, SteamOS, Linux ecosystem. I still believe the age of the Linux desktop has begun thanks to this operating system. Steam Deck pushed Linux to the highest share on Steam in years. I want to say it was like 7 years ago, back when Ubuntu first gained prominent appeal, and when the first gaming like wine tricks and wine were becoming popular. People were trying to run Steam on Linux, and they had some success. But now it's actually like true. SteamOS is almost 8% of the people who are on SteamOS at any point in time. Last month they had 1 million concurrent people using that operating system on Steam. So, this is like the tidal wave, the tsunami, where the water starts drawing back, and then people at the beach like, hey, where's the water going?
Yeah, for real, dude.
Right, any day now.
Oh, is it low tide already?
Right. So like any day now, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back so fast and so viciously. It's going to be like, oh, now this is the year of Linux.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy, man. Like, even though the percentage was like crazy, it's like Linux was at like 1.28%, and Apple Mac was like 2.56 or something. But with this Steam Deck, I mean, that Linux percentage can quickly overtake that Mac one in no time.
Yeah, and I will say it's like the viral algorithmic equation. Something isn't popular, then all of a sudden there's no stopping it. I believe the simple fact that with SteamOS, they're being incredibly open about it. Number one, they're literally giving the operating system to anybody to put on anything.
Right.
And when they do, they're getting hardware profiles. And with the hardware profile, they can say, oh, you're running X hardware, you're running Y game. Well, here is the Z profile that people seem to like running off of it. Because one of the complaints I kept hearing about was people gamers just don't want to sit around and configure all the controls, the different inputs. Well, thanks to community driven content, you don't have to, as long as somebody else has. And that's what they didn't really get. So if you want to be on the bleeding edge of gaming, yes, you're going to have to sit there and spend an hour configuring your input to be how you want it to be. Or you could just play some retro games for about a week and then come back.
Man, yeah, so, it's going to be interesting, especially when after Christmas, to see how many people buy these things and how many more users there'll be.
Yeah, and I think kind of like Gmail beta, how they literally controlled how many people were able to join in the very beginning. They literally made it to where you had to go in as a Gmail user and like click, I want to invite people to do it.
Yeah, you had to get like a text message to get like an invite and stuff. It was crazy.
So how Valve is controlling the flow now, supposedly here right before Christmas, maybe right around Black Friday, there's going to be select retailers where you can walk in and say, I want a Steam Deck.
No shit.
If that happens, this is where it's going to be like, hold on, folks. This is going to really start to happen quick, because I've heard, now this is all anecdotal. Okay, this is all anecdotal. I've heard more than a couple people on more than a couple podcasts say, I took my Steam Deck over to my buddy's house. We had a barbecue. Right there, 4 people said, I'm buying a Steam Deck.
Right.
I took it over. Yeah, I took it over here. It was a kid's birthday party. I had 6 kids scream to me, I want a Steam Deck for Christmas.
I believe,
I do think it's one of those things that by the time Microsoft and Sony even begin to react to this device's existence, it's already too late. It's literally already too late.
I wonder if Steam is gonna build some type of console, PC kind of thing next.
Well, that's one of the rumors. There is a new. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't remember all the verbiages, but you know how all stuff has like inside names. The inside name for this Ryzen processor was hypothetically, let's just say, Homer. Yeah. There's a new Ryzen processor leaked that's called Bart. So everyone believes this is going to be the next generation of this hardware chip. But what everyone believes is it's not going to be the Steam Deck 2, it's going to be the Steam Console 1. To where they're going to offer this just as a non-screen handle version. But the gimmick is going to be is the controls. The original Steam controller they cannot sell anymore. They lost a lawsuit where the back paddles.
Who sued them or what? Like, what was the patent over or whatever?
I can't remember the name of the company, but what I will say is on the Steam controller, it has your normal stick, D-pad, weird D-pad, 4 buttons, weird mouse trackpad with your thumb, and then it had 2 L and R buttons, L1, L2, L1, 2, but then it had around the back where your pinky and your wedding finger ring was. It had a paddle with 2 buttons on it, and that was the paddle that they got sued over how it was implemented. I don't know the name of the company, but apparently they lost in court. So as soon as that happened, you can't buy another Steam controller, which right now I could take my Steam controller, put on eBay and get like $180 for it.
Man.
But I'm not, because it's such a good controller. So people believe that they're not going to release any other different hardware than the Steam Deck until they have a controller configuration not only nailed, okay, but here's the gimmick. Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons for the pair of them, because there's 2 of them, is like $70.
I know, it's insane.
A PS controller, $60 to $70. Xbox. Let me rephrase this. Low-end PS controller, $60, $70. High-end PS controller, $180 to $250.
Damn.
Xbox low-end controller on sale, $50 to $60. Xbox Elite controller, I want to say $240.
Mm.
So what everyone is thinking is if Steam can make a perfect in air quote controller, and like normal Steam technology now, you're just going to have one controller. You're not going to have the ghetto version and then the elite controller. You know what I mean?
Right,
No, because
right.
that's literally bifurcating the market and literally creating the have and have nots, which seems to be
Yeah,
not what they're doing. So if they can get that one controller and get that thing down to like 30 or $40, they're going to have because then why would you connect an Xbox controller to it? Why would you
exactly.
connect it?
Exactly.
So that's what people are believing. If they can get the console out for sub $200, because the screen is a good amount of the value of the thing, if they can
Yeah.
get a controller and a console out for like $200 to $250, it's going to once again completely shift the market. And again, I'll just say it like this: everything I ever play on this console, because it's a console, but just happens to be an x86 computer with a desktop, I will be also able to play on the next version and the version after that and the version after that, and I never have to rebuy content,
Mm-hmm.
which completely breaks everything Nintendo, Sony, or Xbox has ever done.
That's interesting.
It is, and I'm just really just amped to see the models being broken, like, just destroyed, and then they're gonna have to scatter and rebuild. And there's no doubt Nintendo's going to be the most able, versatile, quickest to rebuild because they're Nintendo. They've been in existence for like over 180 years. I think they're going to be
Yeah.
okay. Um, Microsoft is going to cling on to what they believe is right until the console nearly dies, and then Sony's going to cling until the fact where they got to take out incredible amounts of money, and then they're going to be late, and then they're going to overestimate, and then they're going to overdo, and they're going to have to readjust, and it's going to take them like 6 years to catch on,
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting.
which will only make other doors available for other people to come out with x86 devices.
Exactly. That's gonna be interesting. Looks like who would have thought Steam was gonna bring the Linux desktop race to the forefront?
I can tell you, not me. I swore after their Steam boxes were a colossal, ridiculous, like
Oh,
a
right, because
collectible failure.
they did kind of sell Steam like
Yeah,
computers, right?
and,
Those Steam boxes.
and they were a complete failure. What was in the Steam box cost hypothetically $700. I could build the same
Mm,
thing for $400. Why in the
right.
hell would I spend the money? And the middleware layer of Proton, which is really nothing more than wine, was not
Where it
optimized,
is
wasn't
now.
wasn't
Yeah.
and it's not perfected now, so I don't want to use the word perfected, but it's not as successful as it was, now. So it didn't really help you that much. To where now,
Yeah. Yeah.
now I want to say the last number I heard was 6,500 games are available to play on the Steam Deck, which is still more than any total number of
Wow.
games available on any console that's ever existed.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah. Um, I want to mention one more like Linux Debian Ubuntu based thing. It's only because I have such mixed feelings about this one too, Jonathan. It is called NALA. I gotta believe it's pronounced Nala.
Yeah, that's what my screen reader was calling it, Nala.
And the way I'm going to describe this is, um, we had apt-get, then we have apt. Now Ubuntu's trying to push us to snap. Okay, this is just another one of those versions. So it isn't a different package manager store. It's not
It's like a
different
wrapper.
sources. Yes, thank you. Exactly. It's a perfect word. It's a wrapper to where you can invoke Nala commands in place of apt commands. But the real difference is the incredible beautification of what you get back.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I guess it looks a lot cooler.
it looks a lot clearer, just a lot more understanding of. But the first thing you do is you have to really run a sudo nala fetch, and what the sudo nala fetch does is it goes out, it pings literally, I want to say over 100 servers. It only responds to you like the top 15 or 16 servers according to speed, and then it tells you, okay, which mirrors do you want to keep? they're numbered 1 through 16. Separate them by spaces. Type in how many they want to keep. And unlike Debian, apt-get, or snap, it actually has the ability to do what Arch has been doing for over a decade now, which is
Right.
simultaneously downloading from multiple nodes. AKA,
Yep.
it should make your big updates or upgrades take much less time.
Yeah, exactly. No, this Nala thing, it basically, I mean, a lot of the features that it was doing, I was like, Pac-Man does all this stuff. I was like, I mean,
Right.
maybe not how it formats, how it all looks, but all the stuff that I was saying, I was like, oh, all this stuff already exists in Pac-Man.
Well, I mean, oh man, okay. I'm gonna semi quote Neil deGrasse Tyson. Um, the difference between us and the smartest chimps or orangutans is only 1%. That 1% is the difference between being able to use a stick tool and to go into a mound to get termites and to make the James Webb Space Telescope.
I
Now,
hear
imagine something 1% smarter than us, what it could do. The base apt-get is like the chimp, where it's like clunky, bunched up, not well sorted interface. And then when you run Pac-Man, you actually see names of apps, names of applications, percentages, and you see it coalesce right there in front of your face, and you can grok it, you can get it, you can see it.
Yeah.
And then this is 1% better than that kind of thing, to where this interface is just unbelievably clean ncurses interface. The first time you run stuff, it does take a little bit longer. After that, my experience, it ran like 5 times quicker with everything.
Yeah.
Most of the commands went just fine. The only one that was different was I also run a sudo apt auto clean in my string of update commands. So I had to replace it with sudo nala clean, but then I also added a new one called sudo nala auto purge, which if something is orphaned and purgeable, it will automatically get rid of it.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, which I was perfectly okay with. So now, like back in the day, one of the biggest problems people would have with Debian or Ubuntu based systems was they never did auto remove, they never did auto clean, and eventually their root partition would fill up with kernels.
Exactly.
And that happened for decades. So I said, well, here's my group of commands: sudo apt get update ampersand upgrade ampersand dist upgrade ampersand full update ampersand auto clean ampersand auto remove ampersand, and it it just kept going.
Yeah.
To where now it's like 10 commands long, but I'm rest assured that stuff isn't really breaking because
Exactly.
I mean, kind of like oh man, I can't remember his name now. Tom from Going Linux.
Oh,
I mean,
yep.
I can just upgrade and upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, and it's just stuff that doesn't break, which was near impossible in every other operating system ecosystem.
I hear you.
Which is why,
just...
and my experience with that just tells me why a rolling release is so doable.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I love Manjaro. You know, they. I mean, Manjaro is awesome because they use all the Arch repos, but they put a patch into Pac-Man on the Manjaro side, so they have 3 branches of what they do with the Arch repos. So they have the stable branch, the testing branch, and the unstable. So if you run the unstable branch in Manjaro, you're basically running Arch Linux, like because the unstable branch just means, hey, the second Arch throws anything over the wall, we take it and you can run it. Like so if you run Manjaro on the unstable branch, you're basically running like up to date Arch Linux like a day late or whatever, you know. But the way they patch Pac-Man is so cool. You can switch the branches. So you could be like, oh, you know what? I'm running unstable right now. I'm going to switch over to the stable branch and upgrade my system. And you could just do it flawlessly. You could bounce back and forth. I've did it numerous times, and it's just crazy to see like what Manjaro did with Pac-Man to be able to just bounce back and forth between a stable running version and an unstable. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the simple fact you can go back and forth with that, or with like Red Hat and Fedora, it literally amazes me how the operating system's backbone is fluidly dynamic enough to do it, have it still working, not break, and then undo it, redo it, and not break.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. One more link I was going to throw out there, and half the reasons I bring links is so it's in the notes. So when I go to searchpodnox.com, it's there for me the next time.
There you go.
This is a service literally called Cheat Sheet, and it's actually cht.sh. Okay. So here's what it is. It's a little stub of an application you install, but to use the application, you have to type curl space cht.sh. Now, the dirty secret is right now you can go to the website cht.sh. So hypothetically, if I want help on Python, I will literally just type in the command prompt curl space cht.sh/Python. Enter. And it will tell me all the available Python help topics that I could put in, or all the information about the basic Python and the Python versions, and how to install the different Python versions.
That's pretty cool.
This is awesome. Or I could type in curl space cht.sh/ls. And it will give me,
and then it shows you the whole list.
It will tell me everything possible to do with the ls command.
Man.
This is like, I don't want to say mind blowing, but this is the kind of thing, Jonathan. Now, I really don't want to sound stupid when I say this. This is literally the kind of thing that if me and you were able to do years ago, I would have tried to find a way that we could actually make this happen back then, because there's nothing crazy here. There's no secret sauce. There's nothing incredibly difficult or complicated or different. This is just simple, old school manipulation of text data over command line. They're just, the only difference is the resulting information is coming from a web server.
It's pretty cool. It is very cool.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm not even beginning to scratch the surface of the level of complexity that you can get from this cht.sh website. It is unbelievably cool. This is the kind of thing, Jonathan, I could literally sit there, work in an enterprise, have somebody tell me I need to do something. They look at me like, you're the Linux nerd, you know what you're doing. I can say yes. I can then think I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. And then I could go to cht.sh, do a couple things, and then be at least semi-confidently competent about what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, totally. Let's kind of go back to those. I don't know if we talked about them last time. It was like that new format of man pages. It's kind of like that same idea that we looked at, or I liked that a few weeks ago. I don't remember what it was called, but there's a new take on man pages also.
Yeah, there's been like 2 or 3 things I've seen in the last couple months, because man pages are fine. Man pages are good. I get where they're coming from. I get what they're trying to do, but they were designed and implemented back when 56K modems were still kind of new.
Right.
And you know, Vanna White still looked hot on Wheel of Fortune. And sadly, Alex Trebek was still alive.
Exactly.
Yeah, just more proof I'm getting old. The wife was watching Jeopardy tonight, and they announced this is the 2-year anniversary of Alex Trebek's death. And I'm like, wow.
No kidding.
That went quick.
Right? I'm surprised Jeopardy's even still going.
I can't believe it's still going, considering the host has the personality of a piece of toast.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is. And I really, now between you and me, Jonathan, I really made a couple teachers incredibly mad in the last couple months, because the teachers would exclaim to me, how they should never use Wikipedia. No kid should
Yeah.
ever
Oh,
use
dude.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. College professors say the same thing.
Well, less college professors are saying it today, and here's the logical reason why. Every kid should be using Wikipedia because the one thing using Wikipedia will do, it will teach the kids over time how to use critical thinking.
Exactly.
Just because you're reading something does not mean you should believe it verbatim.
Right.
And the old school teachers believe everything you read should be perfect and unequivocal, and that's the way it should be, kind of thing. And that's not the way it is. So then I really piss off those teachers who believe that. And then when I ask them, were you a fan of Jeopardy back when Ken Jennings was on it? Oh yeah, it's great, 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 great. So you remember that IBM computer that kind of like destroyed Ken Jennings? Oh yeah. You realize it wasn't using any like artificial intelligence, machine learning. It was literally just an advanced
Like search
text.
engine.
Yeah. It was an advanced ODBC, optical data character recognition, that was reading the screen, taking the date, taking the text, taking out the words like if, the, of, leaving the rest of the words, and literally doing an offline Wikipedia search. And then it was taking the first sentence out of the Wikipedia article and rephrasing it as a question.
Wow.
And they just like, stop. Wikipedia is not good. It's not bad. It's a tool. Nuclear is not good. It's not bad. It's a tool. A gun is not good or bad. It's a tool.
Exactly.
And it's like, they have those, and some teachers have such a far way to go, because one of the things that they believe is, well, I have my degree. I'm smart.
Yeah.
No. The original intent of college was to teach you how to learn. And then when you graduate, now you can move forward and keep learning.
Exactly.
That's what it's supposed to be. And I will say, James Randi, I don't know how familiar you are with James Randi.
I'm not.
But this is a tangent-driven night. James Randi was a Canadian kid who left his home like the age of 15, became a vaudeville-type magician. When he was older, he turned into the guy who was just as good, if not better, than Harry Houdini with doing his tricks. Then later in life, he would appear on shows like That's Incredible, back in the day, where he would, in air quote, debunk people who had psychic powers and these kind of things. Then he went on to develop a conference called The Amazing Meeting, TAM, The Amazing Meeting, where his goal was to just show like how Uri Geller cannot bend spoons. It's a simple sleight of hand that any magician can do right in front of you. And he was the guy who like coined like the phrase, in fact, people with higher educations are in most cases easier to fool because they have such an intelligence level that they have a much more easy time convincing themselves that they know the actual truth.
Huh.
So
interesting.
Now with that stated, if you haven't watched it, it's a documentary. It's called, The Innocent Liar.
Which one? Netflix or?
Well, I know it's on my Plex server. It's called The Honest Liar is the name of the documentary. And it's a mini documentary. It's maybe 40, 45 minutes long. Where his, and also this was the guy that had the $1 million bounty for over like 20 years. If you can prove to me, and here's the thing, if you could prove to an independent party of people that, dowsing rods worked, that you could communicate with ghosts, that you could telekinetically, see things outside the walls.
Yeah.
You could do any of those things. Here's $1 million. And of course, after 20 something years, he said, I'm tired of having the same people come to me. Nobody can prove anything. I'm now changing this from being a reward type of thing to just an educational institute, to where his goal is to just show how people can be conned and scammed into believing, like the Filipino psychic surgeries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of his things was he went on Johnny Carson and he showed how the psychic surgery worked, like right there on stage, kind of thing, where everyone was blown away. He also was the guy that instructed Johnny Carson, look, you have Uri Geller coming on the show. Here's what you need to do. Don't let him touch anything. Don't let any of his helpers touch anything. Don't let him see anything before showtime. And then once showtime is out, give him spoons, give him anything he wants, and say, here's what it is. And the entire, what turned out to be 4-hour ordeal, Uri Geller couldn't perform a single, thing. He kept saying,
No kidding.
He kept saying, I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling stressed. This is not a conducive environment for my powers.
Jeez.
Right. Oh, he was also the guy who exploited the northeastern reverend who was speaking to God and calling out people's names and addresses and conditions to people in the crowd, who was actually communicating via a RF frequency to his wife behind the stage via a earpiece.
Man.
And he exposed him, and it was ridiculous at the time. And then, of course, 3 months later, the guy's back in business doing the same thing, and nobody seemed scared.
Man. Well, that's the world we live in. Short-term memories.
Well, it is. And I'll say James Randi is one of those guys. To me, he's like Carl Sagan. He's like James Burke from Connections. He's like Alex Trebek from Jeopardy. He's just a guy trying to show you his little slice of reality and just trying to get as many people on board as possible.
Yeah.
Now, here's the tangent you didn't see coming. Alex Trebek openly thanked one person for the success of the TV show Jeopardy. And I'm sure you know who that is, right?
One person, huh?
Yep, one person.
I don't know.
And it isn't, I can't remember the guy's name now, and it isn't the guy who used to have a talk show who basically sponsored the show in the beginning, because he canceled the show. The show was off the air, and 3 months after it was off the air, because things take time, Weird Al released the song I Lost on Jeopardy. And that
Come on.
And that show's popularity single-handedly made the network bring that show back on the air.
Really?
Absolutely. Now, with that stated, also on my Plex server, it is. Also on my Plex server is Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which is not filled with truths.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's a mockumentary parody biography pick where he drinks and has a lot of drugs and he has sex with Madonna.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Exactly. Thank you. Well, and one part of the movie, he developed the song "Eat It" before Michael Jackson developed the song "Beat It."
That's funny.
And people were coming to him trying to get the Weird Al bump because, Coolio kind of thing. Once Weird Al parodies your song, you do see a bump. So he did it the opposite, to where people early in his career were coming to him to get the Weird Al bump.
That's funny.
That is. Now, I will say, part of me, I would much rather have a real Weird Al documentary, because I find the guy really fascinating.
Totally.
But at the same token, if he's behind it, it's the kind of thing I have to support it. And here's the other example I'll use. He's the kind of guy, there's not many of them, because he's clean. He is free. He is G. He is honest. He is himself. He's not an addict in anything. He's not belligerent. He's not mean about anything. He's the kind of guy, for the rest of my life, I would be happy to contribute $10 to him for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
Because I know it's going to end up in making me smile or laugh.
Yeah, he's. I'm gonna have to. I actually, is that new? That just kind of came out, right?
It just came out on the 4th, exclusively on the Roku channel. If you do not have the Roku channel, I have the hard copy on my Plex server. Just let me know.
Yeah. No, I think I heard someone mentioning there was going to be a Weird Al documentary thing coming out soon. Oh, that's cool, but I didn't realize that's what it was. I'm actually a little more excited to watch it this way. It sounds like it's funny and cool.
Well, I'll say about half the people I know hated it, and the other half the people loved it. And the example I'm going to use is, yours and my friend Chad Wallenberg says, not sure I liked it at all. We are Double N Dan said me and the wife absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Which just once again kind of nails Double N Dan, cool guy.
Makes you think twice about that freedom hater Chad Wallenberg.
I didn't say that. You can't prove a thing. But now here's where I truly digress, Jonathan. We've only done 4 episodes in 16 months. Granted, we've done 3 in the last 4 weeks or whatever. It was literally difficult for me to scrape this content together because, and I did watch a talk, an air quote, between Linus Torvald and some nerdy guy at the Kernel Developer Conference, which was less than 4 weeks ago.
Greg
Nope.
Pearl Hartman or something like that? No.
Even more boring than that guy.
Okay.
And like 40 seconds into the talk, Linus just admitted, just flat out, this is boring. Everything with Linux today is boring. And he's not wrong. There's nothing about Linux in today's ecosystem that is exciting, that is exhilarating, that is game-changing, that is awe-inspiring, that is... No! Everything in Linux that I can find is boring, except for like advanced, interactive, dynamically changing man pages. You know,
right? Or we're using curl to get
right.
our cheat sheets.
Right, we're literally using like 45-year-old technology for our cheat sheets. But the other thing that he did bring up in that talk was the fact that now for like 2 months he's been on an air quote ARM laptop.
Interesting.
And then he kind of let it like accidentally, I guess, ooze out of his mouth like pus that it was a MacBook.
Ew.
And then because he was like, some things aren't completely working, to which makes me just want to like slap him in his face.
Right.
Duh. You're using a MacBook.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do think it's going to be very interesting with the Linux kernel and Rust, which they're going to finally implement here very soon. I think it's going to be very interesting how much Rust advancements we're going to see, because one of the other links we're not going to bring is literally Rutgers, I think it was Rutgers, saying, I'm sorry, it was the Register saying the year of the Linux desktop is no joke, and it's only inevitable. And they say it's inevitable because Windows will eventually completely forfeit the desktop market because it's not making enough money.
Huh.
I'm not going to say they're wrong, but I don't think they're completely right either.
Yeah.
I do think that there is much more money in subscription services. I do think if Microsoft charges a subscription service just for the desktop, I think they might see enough of a mass exodus to other things, because there's so many things you can run in the browser, that it would be detrimental to their business. And I'm sure these are the kind of things that lawyers and accountants measure constantly and reevaluate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But also, I think the shift of ARM-based infrastructure becoming much more mature, much more powerful, much more stable, much more well-documented, changing much less dramatically as quick, and having, good buses, good I/O, good RAM on top of them will make things like a Windows desktop less popular over time. And here's the other reason why I'll say that. I spoke to 3 people in the last couple of weeks, and all of them openly admitted to me they're basically never on their desktop or laptop unless they have to do like podcast related task.
That would never be that would be the day I stopped using my desktop computer or laptop. I hate my cell phone as anything other than a phone or to just consume media. Like, I cannot do any actual work on like a phone or tablet at all. Like, other blind people can. That's not my workflow.
I mean, yeah, I'll say my 9 to 5 has to be on a computer. There's no getting around it. My home life, I obviously use it for podcasting, but to be honest, the other thing I use it for is video consumption, which nobody understands why. It's like this. It's very easy. on my desktop, I have Plex plugins, YouTube plugins, and Netflix plugins that will let me take the video up to 3x or above. Because anything
Right.
less than 2x is pointless, as far as I'm concerned. But also on YouTube, I have another tool called Sponsor Block, to where other users will mark a time in a video when the douchey host will say, and this video is brought to you by my favorite earbud manufacturer ever, Raycon. And Raycon's so cool that I don't know. I don't want to hear any of that crap. So Sponsor Block automatically skips all of that kind of content.
That's funny.
And then I have YouTube Enhanced, which I can take it up to 4x or 5x. It also will enable me to do like one or two more things that I cannot do on mobile devices. So the only time I will watch anything video-wise on a mobile device is if it's guaranteed to be less than like 30 seconds worth of content. Otherwise, you lost me, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Can you watch 5 or 6 times X, you're saying, on YouTube?
It depends on the browser. It depends on the processor kind of thing. If I close all the tabs, open up only one tab on Firefox with YouTube Enhanced, I can go up to like and it depends on the amount of video actions is the way I'll put it. Some videos I can go up to like 8x. And it still plays fine. Some videos I can't go above like 4.5x.
Yeah, yeah. It also depends on the people talking and stuff like that, you know, if you can hear it clearly or not.
Right. I can always go into the settings and lower the quality down, which helps. But it's the amount, because what it is, it comes to what's called keystoning. I believe it's keystoning, what it's called, when YouTube algorithmically decides, because of the amount of things changing in the background, how often we have to take a complete complete inventory of the complete screen. The more frequently the backgrounds are changing, the more frequently YouTube has to take that key point indicator, so the more frequently the video is going to use more bandwidth. If it's just a guy sitting in front of a green screen and nothing behind him is changing, it's always black and it's just him talking, you can go up to 10x with no problem.
That's cool.
I know.
What is that? Is that an extension or something?
Oh yeah, Firefox extension, literally just called YouTube Enhanced.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I love Sponsor Block, Return YouTube Dislike, and Enhancer for YouTube is what it's called.
Huh, cool.
And then I have my Plex Pace plugin, and then I have my Netflix Speed Control plugin, to where I can speed up that cut. Because even if I'm watching Star Trek with James T. Kirk, to watch it at 1x, it's literally like he's on Valium.
Yeah, and Netflix only goes like 1.5x or some crap like that.
Yeah, with Netflix Speed Control, you can go up to 3x.
Oh man! All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to install some plugins now, or some extensions rather.
Yeah, because like, you know, as much as I say like I love Carl Sagan, like literally, like the guy was like utterly inspirational to me as a youngster when I stumbled across him on PBS doing Cosmos. Trying to watch the original Cosmos now at 1x, dude, I would literally need like a medical marijuana card or something to sit through that, because that's just because it is like, wow, his speech is so deliberate.
Right,
and
right.
Yeah, can't do it.
I hear you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw out there again that I am not the absolute best person when it comes to driving community engagement. But if you think this is the kind of conversation you would like to be a part of, super easy. Podcast at linuxforthebestofus.com. Ping me on YouTube comments, ping me on Discord, ping me on, unfortunately, Twitter, or even Facebook. Don't try to ping me on Mastodon, because I'm not paying for a server right now.
What about your Instagram account?
What? To paraphrase Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, no, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, mumbler, you're mumbling. I can't understand a word you're talking.
Next time, speak a little bit louder. I'm a bit deaf in this ear.
Yeah, I had somebody try to ask me if I had an IG account, and I'm like, You understand, like, I would like sooner like go to the White House and support the current president. And he's related to me. He's like my fourth cousin.
No kidding.
Yeah, if I go to my family graveyard up by Rocky Gap State Park, off in the corner behind some bushes because we're kind of ashamed of them, we have the Robinettes. We have some Robinettes back there, and that's his middle name, Robinette. And I believe it's his great grandmother, or he's so old it's his great great grandmother is buried back
No
there.
kidding.
And,
That's crazy.
And here's the thing: I bet you money he doesn't even know it.
Oh yeah, right.
I bet you the Secret Service knows it because that's their job.
Right.
I'm betting you that he doesn't. Well, all right, Mr. Jonathan. I always thank you for coming in and hanging out.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
We did have one comment in the YouTube chat the entire show, which makes it really easy for me to keep up with. It was from Michael K, and he says, "Doesn't Fedora DNF package manage have similar functionality?" And I'm pretty sure it's similar functionality to the Nala application.
Probably, yeah. I would imagine. I barely use DNF.
I would nearly guarantee it, and the reason I almost guaranteed it because in reality, apt is like Debian. It's like incredibly, I don't want to say old, but it's incredibly mature and slow to change.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Arch has been doing it for at least 10 years, if not 12 years. So there's no doubt in my mind Fedora and DNF have started to do it like at least 6 years ago because Fedora.
Yeah, because DNF came out like kind of how you just said, maybe 6 years ago or whatever. So it probably did implement a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah, and I know when DNF came out, it was extremely advanced. Like it was taking and that like Red Hat kind of base and literally like giving it a steroid injection to make it more advanced.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'll say thank you very much for the comment, Michael K. And we should try to be about here around the same time in maybe a week or maybe two.
Exactly.
So, Jonathan, is there any parting words of wisdom, or any kind of things you want to end off with?
Well, use free software when you can. Always. That's the first thing you should always do. And if you have to hate freedom, do it despairingly and then go back to free software.
Yeah, I'll say if any single platform is so important to you that you can listen to like an hour-long rampage about it, and that platform happens to be Twitter, I think you need to reevaluate what you're thinking. Kind of like I said to my oldest son and my wife, I said, look, there's one rule we should all adhere to right now, starting today. If we say anything, think anything, or believe anything, and then we stop and think that your father or my father might agree with that, we need to shut up and reevaluate because we're wrong.
There you go.
Because what's the likelihood an 80-year-old person is right about anything in 2022? And the answer is there's only two possibilities. Slim and none.
Yeah, seriously.
So with that, my ageist self is out, and I will talk to everyone again real soon.
See ya.
Yeah, when I said that to my oldest son, he just laughed for like 20 minutes. Yeah, and then my wife was like, no, I think you're right. I think anytime I agree with him, I should definitely stop. And then she just said to me, if I ever say anything that you think is something that he would say, just let me know.
That's funny.
And the thing is, I love my dad because, he broke his back for 20 plus years to make sure me, my mom, and everyone were happy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he's smart.
This is very true.
Well, and this is the guy, and look, I understand the controversy, and this is where I get weird. I know I understand the controversy with gravity. Okay?
Yeah.
No one can actually say what gravity is. No one can actually say how gravity literally works. if we were traveling at a certain rate of speed, and increasingly at such a steady state, it would be indistinguishable from normal gravity. That was one of those Einstein things. If you're in a elevator accelerating through space at a proper rate of speed, and you drop something, and you stand on Earth and drop something, the differences are indistinguishable.
Huh. Okay.
And I said to my dad, that doesn't mean gravity doesn't exist, dumbass. It just means we don't understand it.
Right.
Because
right.
he was trying to tell my oldest son, gravity doesn't exist. Like, oh my God. Yeah. So the one thing I wanted him to, the next time he came over, I was going to put this thing on. Oh man, if I put it on, I'm pretty sure he's going to cuss and leave. It was about how, have you ever heard of the YouTube channel Knowing Better?
No.
Okay. There's only one video I'm going to shoot your way. I'm going to encourage you, don't watch it until you have time. It's about Starship Troopers. Okay.
The movie.
It's about the movie, but it's about the book. It's about how people interpreted the book, because the book was literally like from the 50s.
Oh, I didn't realize it was actually a book.
I didn't know either. And then the movie, and then how people interpreted the movie, and then where they both meet, how people are wrong, what was the actual intent from the director, and then it was just a really good like breakdown. This guy also did like a 2-hour breakdown of American Indians or Native Americans.
Okay.
And he went through everything, the good and the bad, the ugly. Like he went through like how I don't understand how people call these people like perfect like environmentalists. Like you remember how you heard how they would like drive buffalo off the edge of a cliff because they didn't have like the right firearms kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
Do you know how they drove them off a cliff? They would start massive fires that went out of control that they couldn't stop, that would drive like 50 buffalo off the edge of a cliff. They would like take 10 of them with them and leave the rest there to rot.
Man.
So like these people weren't perfect environmentalists. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then the inverse is also true. They were not savages that were just trying to kill white people because they're white people. You know what I mean? We treated them horribly.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Yeah. So that's the kind 100%. Of thing if I put on and my dad comes in, I'm pretty sure he'll leave mad. Because like he's like so old, he doesn't understand that when someone says this is the Confederate flag, no, that's actually not the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag looked nothing like that. That's what's called the Confederate battle jack. That's not the Confederate flag. Number 2, there isn't a single cowboy that ever existed that wore a 10-gallon hat. They all wore bowler hats because the 10-gallon hat would fly off their head too quick because it's too big and flappy. Number 3, 95% of the cowboys were black or Mexican.
No kidding.
Yeah. The only white cowboys were literally right outside the cities. They would take the bulls and cattle from the real cowboys and bring them into town. And that was it. And he was like super mad when I said that.
Huh. I never knew.
Well, but it's like, why would you believe something that Hollywood is showing you is accurate or real or true?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, when have they been right? Which is another like Weird Al reference, because the ending theme song, he basically said something like, well, it was in a movie, so it had to be true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
He's the guy I equally feel so sorry for, Jonathan. But at the same time, I respect more than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But you know why I feel sorry for him, right?
No.
The thing he was actually first going to college for was to be an architect.
No kidding.
He had some say in the house that was built and gifted to his parents.
Okay.
Which is the same house where after they moved in, 2 months later, they died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
So he basically blames himself. And that's the kind
Ouch.
of pain and anguish. How could you ever how could you ever outgrow? How could you ever get past? I don't know.
I don't know how you would actually,
I don't know. But
honestly.
I think his wife has kept him remarkably sane, is what I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, man.
But
I
yeah,
didn't know that about him.
you were right. I saw him in concert live once, and I was sitting there in shock. Like, this is the
Exactly.
best damn show I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The passion he was like spewing was unmatched. The like costume changes and whole set changes was absolutely crazy. But then, did I ever tell you about the most crazy thing about that show?
No.
Okay, when you're driving, there's a technique that was introduced back in the 50s called the zipper technique, and it's what's supposed to be done anytime two lanes reduce down to one. Whether
Okay.
you're coming up to where there's two lanes and you merge down to one, it's supposed to be like a zipper. One, 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 one. Or if you're in a crowded parking lot, it's supposed to be like you let someone go, they let you go. You let someone go, they let you
Right.
go.
Right.
When I left the Weird Al concert, dude, I'm gonna tell you now, it was packed. Everyone leaving at the same time. I got in my car. I was near the farthest point of the parking lot, yet somehow I got from my point to the exit in less than 30 seconds because everybody in that stadium did the zipper technique. Everyone was polite and patient to where, oh no, you go and then I'll go. Oh no, you go and then I'll go. It was,
Right. That just shows you his fan base. You know
thank
what I'm
you.
saying? Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is amazing. And my wife went to the show and she was like, I don't know what to expect. I'm here for you. I love you. You're a nerd, you know? And then, she knew like half the songs or whatever. And she's like, I can't believe, she's like, literally, I'm looking around and I'm seeing 45-year-old men with their 60-year-old mom in
Oh,
the stands.
totally.
And then I turn over there and I see a like 26-year-old kid with his 13-year-old kid in the audience.
Right.
And everyone's
Right.
just being nice to everybody. She was like, I went to the bathroom. This was the quickest ladies' bathroom line I've ever been in. So, like, he came into close to town like 2 or 3 months ago. We just got back from Disney in May, so we were like, it's like
Yeah,
$130 a ticket, so we had to skip it.
I know. Freaking tickets are insane.
I know, but I mean, here's the thing. I told her, I said, look, I'm not opposed to the price. I'm just opposed to the price right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and hopefully he's going to come back here in like a year or two, go see him again. Because yeah,
I'd love to see him again. I only
uh,
saw him that one time.
well, and I will say, and this is really the stupidest thing you can hear me say, his music is only actually getting better with time.
Yeah.
Because like, and now one thing I didn't know was he said on a interview like a year ago, there's only one band currently in existence that has been together as long as his band,
No kidding.
and I thought it was Rolling Stone. And he's like, nope.
Well, he probably means like the original. He must have like the original band members in his band, right? Is
Right.
that what he means?
The only people who still has all the original band members was Aerosmith.
No kidding.
And this was like 5 or 6 years ago. He says, no other band has stayed together like this band. And I said, and here's the whole thing. When I do something, they're never jealous saying, why didn't you invite me? When I do something, they're like, thank you for giving me the break. My God, I want to stay home with my family. And then when it's time to
Right.
do a tour, they come out and they just nail it. And he said, and the reason they're still together is, I believe, is if we were doing only one type of music, they would be getting bored doing one type of music. But
Yeah.
because every song is completely different, they're constantly engaged and they always have the availability to interpret the song how they best see fit.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't tell them what to do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, then and I've seen more than a couple bands where I go listen to them, and musically it's like, sound much better on that cassette tape there, bruh.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I tell everyone. You don't know what a band is worth until you see him live.
Right now, and my one buddy said there's only one band he went and saw in his life that sounded more fluently equal to their albums, and that was Tears for Fears.
That's interesting.
That is because, and I had a guy over in Deutschland tell me the only band he saw that was equivalent to the album was Aha.
Yeah, that's interesting
Well,
too.
like, that guy still, like, 40 years later, can still hit that high note.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other live band that I never got to see them, but I hear all the live stuff is anything Frank Zappa did.
Yeah.
Every time he played live,
Yeah.
it was to be seen.
Well, him and the Grateful Dead, some people said the studio recordings almost didn't do him justice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to end the live stream that no one's watching.